MP, Chair, I would just like to give my condolences to the family and fellow loved ones of Mr. Troy Washington, also to the Morisot and Mingret family of the passing of Mr. Gregory Morisot. His brother sat in my cabinet when I was Minister of Justice, and also to the Chittick family, in French Quarter as well, on the passing of their sister. I would also like to give my condolences to them.
On behalf of my faction, the SAM would like to extend our condolences, our deepest condolences, to the Washington family, to the employees of GB, and to the greater community of St. Martin at large. Madam Chair, it is a solemn day for St. Martin to think that someone like Troy Washington took the call to duty to do what was necessary to try to enhance his country, and now because of the sudden passing, the country has been thrusted into mourning. So my heartfelt condolences goes out to all of those in the greater community at large, especially his family, who are suffering with this loss. I also would like to echo the sentiments of MP Lyndon Lewis to the passing of Gregory, affectionately known as Dollar Bill. Dollar Bill was my friend, and we will cool out on the strip in Simpson Bay. I wish his family strength and God's speed during this difficult time.
I share the same sentiment as my colleagues prior to me. I'd like to offer my condolences to the Washington family, to a great gentleman who played a pivotal part in lifting our country out of darkness, and condolences to the other families who are mourning the loss of a loved one. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, I too would like to give my condolences, extend my condolences to the family of Gregory Morisot, someone that was a bit older than me, but we went to school together. He was very good friends with my family as well. I want to wish them much strength during this difficult time and the sudden mourning that they find themselves in. Madam Chair, secondly, I would like to extend my heartfelt condolences to the family of Mr. Troy Washington. Troy Washington was a local professional that did what he had to do. He served on different platforms, notably the airport, and also played a pivotal role in securing the reconstruction funds. And based on that experience and other experiences, he was selected in the previous administration, the Jacobs cabinet, to serve as a temporary manager to literally help us come out of darkness during the difficult times that GB went through. I must say that he was able to accomplish that, and I believe that he would have been able to accomplish much more. Unfortunately, his life was cut short yesterday. Still in shock, still processing all that happened. So I can't imagine what his wife, his children, his family are going through right now. So I just want to, on behalf of the National Alliance family, wish his family much strength during this difficult time. Thank you for the opportunity.
On behalf of the United People's Party, we're lost for words. Troy was a friend for many, many years. His brother, his sister, his wife, I've known for over 40 years. Madam Chair Lady, MP Duran could not have summarized it better. Troy was and forever will be someone that I will look up to in any function that he ever had. So once again, on behalf of the United People's Party, to his family, but also his colleagues who are now also in shock, who have spent numerous hours with him every day. And this morning I heard on the radio one of the interviews that he had some time back where he vigorously defended how they felt of how they were being treated during the chaos with the GB failures with the generators. And my condolences to them also. Madam Chair Lady, to the family of the other young man who passed away. The Morisseau and Mingret family. My condolences go out to them also. Thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
I would also like to extend my condolences to the two families of the two young men. I knew Mr. Dollar Bill, aka Dollar Bill, in passing. I've seen him quite frequently. Mr. Washington I've known for a very long time. He was very good friends with some of my older cousins. So I've known him since I was about 8, 9 years old, seen him frequent the gym, Port-au-Penzance, many times in the morning. So it's very shocking that we've lost these two young professionals. And my deepest condolences to the family.
Also, I echo the sentiments of my colleagues. I join as the United Resilience St. Martin Movement, URSM, also in expressing condolences to the families of the Chittick family from French Quarter, Morisseau. I have worked with John, the brother of the deceased, and so I extend my condolences to them. I also extend my deepest condolences to the family and friends of Mr. Troy Washington from our utility company, GEBE, and also to his Hogs motorbike family, of which he was a part. I have known the family for quite some time. We grew up together with baseball, etc. His brothers and I, and his sister, and so I wish them much strength. I also wish the GBE family, the workers of GB, because they themselves, GB has always been a family, my former colleagues, that's how we operated, and so I am sure that they are deeply, deeply saddened, and I join with them in their sadness, and I wish them much strength in these difficult times.
Want to extend our sincere condolences to the Troy Washington's family of the sudden loss for this country in a whole, because at the end of the day, he represented a true son of the soil, a young professional, I would say, that actually answered the call of duty when St. Martin needed it the most. And whatever happened within GB, good or bad, you know, he still was the one that agreed to take up that role to try to get us ahead of where we are today. So I appreciate the hard work he has put in, and to his family, to his friends, to all his colleagues from GBE, those around the island, and those affected all over by his loss. I wish everyone much strength during this time, and I also would like to wish each family on St. Martin that's going through some loss, that I wish them much strength during this time as well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Members of Parliament, thank you for your notifications. I can only but join you and echo your words of condolences and sympathy to the families who are now grieving the loss of a loved one, and in particular, those of the family friends of Mr. Morisseau, the family friends of Mr. Washington, and family and friends of Miss Chittick. And you would have noticed, I hope, that rather than asking you earlier to stand for a moment of silence, I ask you to stand for a moment of silent reflection. And thus I thank you for the reflections as expressed, because I believe that as long as our community, the entire community, are touched so deeply by the loss and hurt of families and loved ones on St. Martin, that we are keeping the true spirit of St. Martin alive. And so the tragic events and passing of persons who we knew and loved being felt the way throughout our community as they are being felt, again, is a testimony of the spirit of St. Martin, where when, as we would say in the local parlance, push comes to shove, it is that feeling of unity, it is that feeling of togetherness, it is that feeling of love for your fellow St. Martiner that will keep us going during this time and in the future. So thank you for your reflections, members of Parliament, and I join you in your words of condolences and sympathy to the families who are now mourning, deeply mourning, the loss of a loved one.
Your social and health insurance is your social and health insurances.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
Your social and health insurances.
Another noteworthy happening, if I can call it that, is of course that the Parliament of St. Martin has received the governing program. That program has of course been shared to the members of Parliament, and now I would hope that the government would propose to Parliament to come and at least give the headlines of their agreement, of their program actually, because you have a governing program, that is the one that recently was submitted to Parliament, which is on the basis of the governing accord. The governing accord is the accord between the political parties and their members of Parliament who support the current government. On the basis of that accord, the government with its ministries have devised the governing program. Still, I believe it is necessary or desirable that the government comes and make a presentation of their program to the Parliament and have a discussion if necessary on it. It hasn't really happened. I don't believe ever that we have had a debate on a governing program, but I think that it would send a good signal, not only for the public to get a better understanding of what is in this program, because I believe following this program, what the Parliament should then receive is a timeline in terms of the actions to be undertaken on the basis of that program. And hopefully that sort of timeline will fall together with the first amendment to the 2025 budget, which of course can only come following the entire matter of the budget 2025 being addressed, as I explained before. So I look forward to receiving that proposal from government, actually asking Parliament to come and make an in-person, as I like to call it, presentation of their program. And we have the laws that we have upcoming, so that we have scheduled for a meeting in the coming weeks, are the basic payment account, so the basic bank account, as we have come to call it. We also will be discussing and deliberating. That's an ordinance, by the way. We also will be deliberating and discussing the changes to the vacation allowance law to ratify and legislate the increase, and the increase that has taken place and increases to come in the future. Interesting, I think, is also to make note of the fact, while this is not a law, that the Parliament of St. Martin has taken up contact with the island councils of Saba and St. Eustatius about re-establishing the contact between these legislative bodies. And I indicated in our initial discussions that before we went our separate ways as Windward Islands, there was a trajectory of coming to a Windward Island economic union. And I kept repeating this until our secretariat here at Parliament was able actually to find that document before the document of before 10-10-10, where the three islands, the three Windward Islands, had established a draft protocol, a draft memorandum of understanding called the Windward Island Economic Union. And it was found, that documentation was found, and is going to also be looked at and reviewed in the context of the discussions that have taken place and will continue to take place in the month of April between the legislative bodies, so the island councils of Saba and St. Eustatius and the Parliament of St. Martin. I, of course, am very excited about that. It is no secret that I, with my coalition partners, with the government of St. Martin, I am very keen about regional cooperation. Of course, I looked with a little envy at the recent accession to the OECS by our French brothers and sisters, the Collectivité of France Saint Martin. But I will continue my discussions, especially with the Prime Minister, about accelerating our joining of especially the OECS. I have also made similar statements when Curacao was accepted as an associate member of CARICOM. But I do believe, especially in these times, that regional cooperation, regional coming together, regional bonding together on the issues that are going to come our way, without a doubt, that is so extremely important. And because of the networks that I have employed in order to see how we best and most promptly can get on, as I like to call them, these regional bandwagons, I also have a proposal for the government of St. Martin to also kind of, I wouldn't say set our sights on yet, but definitely to look at the African continent and some African countries, and like other islands here in the region, seek alliances there too. And of course, I'll be sharing more information about this. The contacts have been made. In fact, because of the networking, the possibility was there, but I think the time was too short for the government of St. Martin to attend a trade conference in Nigeria last year. But again, because of time constraints, they were not able to make it, but the contacts have been established, and we continue to work and see how St. Martin can really make a outreach where not only the islands and countries here in the Caribbean are concerned, but also further. We really need to look beyond our direct horizons as we seek to advance our country. And again, especially in these unpredictable global times. So that's the part on the regional cooperation. And Saban Station St. Martin, again, coming or at least looking to come together. And my recommendation, coming back now to the issue of regional cooperation, what is happening in the world, my recommendation to the government of St. Martin and the Prime Minister in particular is going to be that locally a task force be established to monitor and report on especially American policies as they're coming out, as they're being thrown out, and what they could potentially mean for our country. I would like to know from the Prime Minister if during his current visit to the Netherlands, if that matter came up at all, but whether it has or not, because as you know, foreign relations is the foreign affairs rather is a responsibility of the kingdom, but that does not mean that St. Martin should not start to look out for itself. And again, we can't predict everything, but at least have a little organization in place that monitors, consisting of captains of industry, as we could call them, naturally the government, and and just a small group just coming together, and as I said, to monitor, report and evaluate if any action would be needed from the government of St. Martin.
Your social and health insurance is your social and health insurances.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
Your social and health insurances.
It's time for a new brand that is as bold, vibrant, and colorful as the island of St. Martin, with colors drawn from our diversity, cultural heritage, and nature. Our breathtaking beaches, waters, and sun, the majestic brown pelican, our national symbol, the radiant yellow sage, our national flower, the historic border monument signifying the Dutch and French sides, our exciting cruise, yachting, and boating ports, renowned Maho Beach and St. Martin Airport, the hub to the Caribbean. All these parts come together to create the shape of the island of St. Martin. More than a logo. It's a new brand that engages, excites, and will inspire travelers to book. It's time to tell the St. Martin story, to reintroduce travelers to St. Martin, to honor our past, to embrace our present, and shape our future. Our culture and diversity, Dutch and French sides, unrivaled cuisine, twice the nightlife, entertainment, and shopping, cruises, boating, and yachting, twice the adventure, exploration, and relaxation. Splendid and scenic accommodations. Pinel, Tentamar, and island hopping in the Caribbean. Whatever your taste, St. Martin has more. Experience twice the Caribbean. St. Martin.
Under the current regime, locally produced raw foods are not subject to GCT, but the tax is applied to imported raw food items, those coming into Jamaica. Finance Minister Favour Williams says that's not allowed under rules governing the World Trade Organization WTO. If it continues, Jamaica could face sanctions.
Therefore, both domestically produced and imported raw foodstuff will now be exempt from the payment of GCT. Madam Speaker, this amendment applies generally to the following items: fresh fruit and vegetables, ground provisions, legumes, onions and garlic, meat, chicken, fish, crustacean or mollusks, and corn. Although we are removing the GCT on imported raw foodstuff, this Honourable House should note that the items in question still attract taxes, primarily common external tariff CET and additional stamp duty.
The parliamentary opposition has concerns about the removal of GCT on imported raw food items, arguing that developed countries are able to heavily subsidize their agriculture sector. Spokesman on Finance Julian Robinson has questions.
Can you indicate which countries, if any, raised an objection to this? And did these objections take place within the ambit of the World Trade Organization, which has a process to deal with objections of this nature? And if you could indicate where within the process that objection got to and whether there was a resolution. I raise this because the removal of GCT on imported items has the potential to negatively impact the local agricultural sector, notwithstanding what anybody wants to say.
Jamaica's trade policy was being reviewed by the WTO, and it was noted it was not a specific country, but by way of the process of review. The UK and the EU asked that we correct all measures inconsistent with our WTO obligations, and this happened in 2024.
Minister Williams says the process began in November 2023 with the WTO reviewer and comments from the European Union and United Kingdom were in July-August of 2024. In the meantime, opposition spokesman on industry Anthony Hilton argues that the timing is bad and WTO rules have turned upside down as some developed countries have imposed additional taxes.
The imposition of tariff at this point of time has meant that any consideration that we may have had in terms of working with the rules to phase out some of these measures that we have imposed, I think we now have to consider that these are now protective measures in light of what is emerging, what is evolving in terms of trade policies being imposed in developed countries.
In keeping with the request from the opposition, the debate was suspended to further assess the potential impact on Jamaica. The United States has imposed a 25% tariff on imports from Mexico and Canada, while promising to impose more taxes, spiking concerns about a global trade war. Andrea Chisholm, TVJ News.